what's up, guys? Dylan Johnson from Soccer Mag here, and welcome back to another episode of Mixing with the DJs. I'm joined by my fellow DJ Dylan Jack, and today we'll be doing a preview for Matchweek 9 of the Premier League. It is an exciting week, considering there's a couple of things that could happen post-Champions League or post-European Football Week. We'll get into that later in the episode because the first couple games aren't amazing. But first up, we have Leicester vs Forest, and I don't think there's much to say about this.
Yeah, okay, it's a big game for Leicester. They need the points. Obviously, they're in a big relegation battle, but we've seen Nottingham Forest are quite a solid team. I think Nottingham should be getting the result. I'm going to back Nottingham.
I agree. I think Forest's defence this season has been great. I think they're in the top 5, which is quite weird considering where they've been the past couple seasons. I also think Leicester's defence isn't that good. I think Chris Wood's in good form. I'm going to go for maybe like a 2-0 Forest, even though it's away from home. I still think they're stronger than Leicester.
Yeah, they are.
After that, we have a pretty exciting game for the neutral. I'll definitely be keen to watch this game. Aston Villa versus Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Considering Villa got a pretty good win in the Champions League and Bournemouth on the back of an amazing win against Arsenal, I'm not sure where you see this game going. I think it could be quite tight.
Yeah, I also think so. It's going to be entertaining. I think there's definitely goals in that. Bournemouth have the very good forward line, and Aston Villa, obviously, with Watkins and Duran, have one of the best in the league. I'm going to go for a 3-2 to Villa.
Okay. I also think Villa will edge it. I'm just interested to see, because we mentioned just before that post-Champions League, last time they got a massive win against Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And then against United, they looked a shell of themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's probably their only worry. How does Unai Emery get them, not hyped up, but keep the energy?
Yes.
I think Bournemouth will definitely score. I'm thinking maybe a 2-2 or maybe a 2-1 Villa. I think I'm going to go 2-2.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a great game to watch. Both of these teams, Brentford's form hasn't been great, even though I wouldn't say they've been playing badly.
Yeah.
Ipswich as well have been pretty, I would say resolute in their performances besides against Everton.
Yeah.
Another one here where I think I could see Ipswich going 1-0 up.
Yeah.
But then Brentford just having a bit too much offensively for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford.
Yeah, I was about to say that a 2-1 looks fair. I think Brentford had United rattled in the first half of last weekend's game, and then obviously United responded. But they're a good side and they're a well-coached side. It's just in the second half they seem to come out and fall apart a little bit in second halves. I think that they do have too much quality for Ipswich, so they should be winning this 2-1 at home.
Then we have an interesting one from the perspective of looking at how Wolves played last week against Man City. And I think looking at how they've played throughout the season, you can't really complain about their offensive play. Brighton got a massive win against Newcastle away from home. And I think Wolves, it's one of those teams where I don't know how they're bottom of the table, where I think they're teams that have been worse than them this season. Yeah. And I think defense has just not been good enough.
Yes.
I kind of have a feeling because also looking at their first 8 games, they played City, they played Liverpool, they played Chelsea. I think they played pretty much all of the top 10, and now their next 10 games are from 10th or 11th until the bottom of the log.
Yeah.
So this could be a really good run for them, but Brighton, I think, are too strong.
Yeah.
Maybe a 3-1 Brighton or 3-2. I think Wolves will get goals.
Yeah, I think coming after this, Brighton are going to have quite a hectic run. I think they have Liverpool in there and Arsenal. So they need to use this game to get as many goals and and get the 3 points. If Danny Welbeck is fit, I don't know if they doubt, but if Danny Welbeck's fit and he starts, then we've seen the form that he's been in. Then I think they definitely get the win over here. I'm going to go for a 2-0 to Brighton.
Okay. I think a straightforward one after this Man City on the back of a 5-0 win in the Champions League, which realistically we thought was going to happen. I don't see anything, but maybe I'll give Southampton a goal, but again, I don't see anything but like a 3-1 or 3-0. I think Man City are too strong. Southampton don't really, maybe for the first half an hour they'll put up a fight, but I just don't think they can sustain.
No, they don't have the sort of defensive solidity of a Wolves to be able to contain City. I don't think they have that organisation. I think if they concede one, then two or three will very quickly follow. Although City are lacking a bit of rhythm, especially with progressing the ball through midfield. They, as we've said in the last episode, they tend to just move the ball from side to side, and it's the same thing that the wingers are doing. I think this is a game where they can really target Southampton's defense I'm going to back them for a 3-0.
Okay. I think this next game also is another exciting one for the neutral, Everton versus Fulham. And I think Everton in the past couple of weeks have progressed a lot. I think they're more what we expected from them at the beginning of the season. Their defense has stabilized. Their attack is still scoring goals, which is good, which I think was their biggest problem last season. And we've said consistently throughout that Fulham are a low-key team that are actually high quality and can get results. I'm going for a draw, just because I think Everton at home seem to be back to where they should be, where they won't be dropping. I mean, when I say won't be dropping points, I mean they won't be losing at home. I do think both teams will score. I'm going to go for maybe a 1-1, tightly contested game.
I'm going to go. It's going to be tight, but I think I'm going to go for a 2-2. I see goals in this. I see both teams with very good forward lines. Calvert-Lewin's got some good form. Dwight McNeil's starting to come into his own over there in this, and Fulham, Smith Rowe and Iwobi, they've got some good players in there as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-2.
And maybe this is the week where Damachoria actually
scores a goal. You never know.
Another exciting game to kick off Sunday: Chelsea versus Newcastle. And I think I'm just going to favour Chelsea because they're the home side. And I feel like this is the game where Cole Palmer would be disappointed with his performance against Liverpool. He really didn't offer anything. And this is the kind of game where you'll probably get a hat-trick or 2 assists and a goal. Even though I think Newcastle are a very good side. I just think this Chelsea team have that about them where they can bounce back and they can go on runs. And, I think that Nicholas Jackson will be a serious threat in this game. So I'm going to go for... I'm going to stay humble and say 2-1 Chelsea, but I think this will be a great game to watch as well because Newcastle do have their threats.
Yeah, they do. But I think if Newcastle are as open as they were against Brighton, we saw
on the counter.
Chelsea with Cole Palmer, with Sancho, with Madueke, with Jackson, they'll tear them to shreds, and they won't be as sort of wasteful as Brighton were, I don't think. I see Chelsea taking this 2-1.
Okay. Crystal Palace versus Spurs, and I think last season I would have given this to Palace, but they've genuinely not been good at all this season. I think it almost feels like we're waiting for them to hit that, up their level again, but I don't see it coming anytime soon, especially against a team like Spurs. I think their forward line, it looks like they have no chemistry whatsoever. They can't create chances. When they do get chances, they make the wrong decision, and the defense is under so much pressure. And Spurs as well have had a great run of form. I think that, Brendan Johnson's been in good form. Solanke has been getting goals. Maddison, I'm not sure if he's fit, but even if he's there, I think he could cause serious problems. Even though this season he hasn't been to his usual standard. I can see Palace maybe scoring, even though they haven't really this season. Maybe a 3-1 Spurs, although I think that's a bit hectic for away from home. But I don't know. I think Spurs have it in them. They have that.
They do.
Can score 2 or 3 quick goals. So
if they're sort of 2-0 up at half time, then definitely, I think Spurs should be the favourites. Palace, as you've said, they just can't buy a goal at the moment. They have the ability to carve out a couple of chances, but they're just so wasteful when they do get them. They just really haven't performed this season in the same way that they finished off last season. So, I think Spurs take this 2-0.
Okay. Now, West Ham versus Man United.
Oh, fun.
I made a joke earlier.
As you so deemed it.
Who is the first manager of the season that's fired? To be fair, it could be Oliver Glasner from Palace.
It could very well be,
Lopetegui he's really on the nice at the moment.
I really think he is. I think West Ham fans are starting to get really, really tense with him. Aside from, who did they beat 4-1 again?
Ipswich.
Aside from that win against Ipswich.
Which if you had said before the season started...
That would have been like minimum expectations.
Like only 4-1. Like why did we concede?
With the number of signings that they made and the quality that they brought in, giving... Ipswich thrashing would have been sort of the minimum expectation, and they really haven't done much other than that. They've looked really open on the counter-attack. We saw how Chelsea just ripped them. So yeah, I think that United picked up a nice win against Brentford. Obviously, a much better second half performance than the first half. They started to look a little bit better since the international break. Guys like Rasmus Højlund started to get into the game, started to find their goals, and that's probably the most important thing for United is where the goals are coming from. As we've said throughout the season, we've seen at times that switching Rashford and Garnacho and Adama flipping hell. There's another one. And switching Ahmad constantly around hasn't always worked because obviously they Ahmad I think is United's best right wing, but then you're shoving Rashford on the right to accommodate Garnacho. Sometimes he sort of has roller coaster games. He can sometimes do amazing things, and then because he's still young, he sometimes makes really, really bad decisions.
And I think defensively he doesn't help out that much at all. He's waiting for that counter-attack almost every single time, which is his biggest strength.
Yeah.
But in the Premier League, wingers cannot track back anymore.
Yeah. And the other issue is that United are starting to look a little bit thin in midfield. I think they only took 3 midfielders over to Fenerbahce, and that was Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, I think. So, Bruno was suspended, but he'll be back for this game. But yeah, I mean, it is looking a little bit thin there, but I do think that United, I mean, if they perform the way they did in the second half, I think that was probably the best performance in terms of the league. It was probably our best performance of the season. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 to United.
Yeah, I think with Kudus being suspended for that.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
We don't even have to talk about that crazy incident against Spurs.
Yeah.
That is a huge attacking threat, probably arguably their most important attacking threat, because Bowen hasn't really done anything this season. He's been amongst the goals last season, vital player, but he really hasn't looked himself. Yeah. And Kudus is probably their X-factor player that, I mean, against Spurs, he was all over the field, coming to fetch the ball. Yeah. So without someone like him, realistically, they're probably going to have to go for Antonio up front with Jared Bowen, because I think Fulkrook's injured as well, still injured. So I don't know what they're really going to do with their front line. Yeah. And defensively, we know they've been shambolic. They can't keep a clean sheet. Yeah. So against and at home, the expectation's going to be that they're going to have to play. I don't think West Ham fans, even though it's Manchester United, would be 100% happy with the points at home. No. Especially it's gotten to this point where they need to start accumulating wins. Yeah. So unless the performance is amazing and they get a draw, I think they have to win this game. I think United will feed off of that because United, this is what United want. United want the other team to, be aggressive.
To come onto the board, to get into their half, and then that's where you can release Rashford, guys like Bruno and Garnacho.
And that's exactly, I think it will play into United's hands. Yeah. So I'm going to go for, but the thing is United don't also score a lot of goals. So I think 2-1 United, it's a good one because even though West Ham concede a lot, United don't score a lot. So it's almost like cancelling each other out. But I think United 2-1 is a good one. And I think... Unfortunately, the first manager of the season gets sacked this weekend because
I think it's going to be looking.
I think his only defense is that who do they replace him with? I think that's the only thing keeping him there. Yeah.
What's Roy Hodgson doing these days? Has Roy Hodgson's wife got tired of him again?
That would be, imagine Roy Hodgson managing Kudus and Paqueta and all these players. That would be insane.
4-4-2, guys.
Okay, and then the final game of the weekend, the big one, Arsenal versus Liverpool at the Emirates. I'll let you start it off and then I'll speak after that.
Yeah, absolutely massive game. Arsenal, obviously, they're coming off probably what wasn't their best performance in Europe, but and a disappointing result in the league as well, that defeat to Bournemouth. But, I mean, I think this is a game that's sort of built for a draw. We were discussing it a bit before. With Arsenal being so defensive, and depending on whether they have Saka back, we still don't know that, obviously, at the time of filming. But if they don't have Saka back, then that's going to make them even more defensive. They're not going to want to go out to the front foot, even though they're playing at home. I think that this is a game built for Arteta, playing sort of 4 or 5 centre-backs, playing 2 defensive midfielders, and try to draw Liverpool forward and catch them in the space in behind. We've seen that a couple of we saw in game against Nottingham Forest. That's how Nottingham were able to exploit. Yeah,
Jackson against Chelsea
well.
was exactly that as well.
So I think that's how Arteta's going to try. I mean, that's an approach he's gone for anyway. It's an approach he went for against, even though it was sort of forced by a red card. It was sort of the approach he went for against Man City. So, yeah, I think that this is built for a sort of 1-1 draw, I think. It's just because of the way that Arteta is going to approach it, especially if he doesn't have a star man on attack.
I agree. I think we know how Liverpool's going to approach this game. I think that this isn't a negative thing on Arteta at all, but Arne Slot is going to go there to win. Yeah. I think that he seems like that kind of manager where he's never happy with the points regardless. And I think looking at Liverpool's match against Leipzig, the first 10 minutes were a bit shaky. The last 10 minutes were a bit shaky. Yeah. But overall, I think Liverpool played really well in that game. And the comparison to Arsenal's performance against Shakhtar and Liverpool's against Leipzig was Arsenal just seem without Saka and Odegaard. There's no creativity at all. I mean, the midfield against Bournemouth of Rice, Marino, and Partey. Yeah. None of those players' natural instinct is to do anything going forward. Maybe Declan Rice more than the others, but they're deep progressing midfielders that they'll progress the ball forward, but don't expect them to get assists or goals. Yeah. And I think now we've seen especially they can get away with not having Odegaard, but no Saka is insane for them. That he is their main outlet. He does everything for them. When they're under pressure, he gets the ball out wide and he holds the ball and he slows the pace of the game down, beats a defender, gets a ball into the box, or has a shot at goal. And I think the other forwards, it almost feels like Arteta doesn't trust his other forwards at all. I mean, Martinelli, to be fair, hasn't been great for the past year or so. Trossard seems like he's an impact player. He can't start a game. And then Havertz also just seems like he can't really create anything. You know, he's a finisher. He's not like, he's not a creator, even though he does get assists, but that's not his natural game. And then looking at someone like Sterling, who as well, you know, we know Sterling has quality for the past 10, 15 or 10, 12 years he's been in the Premier League. Yeah. But he's not the same Sterling he was at Man City. No. And it's an interesting thing that Arsenal's depth, I mean, in defense, I think their depth's insane. I think they don't have Saliba, but the centre-backs they have are all great. Yeah. The midfield as well, I mean, they don't have Odegaard, but their midfield is still so strong and, you know, like, don't concede a lot of chances. No. But I think going forward, Arteta needs to trust his attackers more because it feels also, like against Bournemouth, he's setting up to stop any danger and then hoping that the forwards can do something. Yeah. I think on Saturday, I don't think Arsenal fans will really accept that anymore. No. I think Arsenal fans now, greedy isn't the right word, but there's an expectation there that at the Emirates we win regardless of who it is. So I think Arteta's going to have kind of be forced to go for this game. And I think it's going to be really exciting because Liverpool, I know we said, it feels like every week we say this is the true test, but Arsenal are a title contender. They're one of the best teams in Europe. And as good as Chelsea have been, they aren't on that level. So I'm interested to see how, especially with no Jota, how Darwin Nunez does against someone like Gabriel, who I think is as good as Saliba. Or how the midfield does. How do Liverpool's midfield create through that block? Because Szoboszlai, as much as I love him as a player, and I think off the ball his work rate's amazing. He really doesn't. It feels like he's not offering anything else. His decision making seems so poor. He's afraid to shoot, it feels like, and he's taking an extra touch. He's trying something fancy, or he's giving a heavy pass. So I think this is the kind of game where Liverpool need a player like that to help. Because we know Salah's going to be two centre backs locked up on him the whole game. And I also want to see how that same space we're talking about with Chelsea, Trent and Konate with Martinelli running in behind. That's been when Liverpool have played Arsenal over the past couple of years, that's been a serious area that Martinelli has, used well. So, and then obviously set pieces. We know Arsenal at set pieces, how they're going to target that. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 because I could see maybe Arsenal going 1-0 up and Liverpool just... I just think the consistent in this game is going to be that no team's going to be happy with the draw. No. So they're going to keep pushing. So could see it being 2-2. I'd love Liverpool to win. I think that would be insane. But realistically, I think a draw is good from Liverpool's perspective.
It is. I mean, in this title race, you win your home games against the teams that are competing against you, and if you can get something from the away games, even if it's just a draw, it's a bonus, you know. So yeah, that should be. Liverpool should be. I'm not saying they should definitely be happy, but a draw isn't a bad result.
They would be happier than Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal with a draw. Yeah, that's the argument I'm making. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me, Dill. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That has been our preview for Matchweek 9 of the Premier League. Some massive clashes there. Let us know what you think of Arsenal versus Liverpool. Will Arteta be too defensive? Will he go for 3 points? Do you think Liverpool will have a chance at getting 3 points at the Emirates? It would be massive. And once again, like, comment, subscribe, etc. Let us know how wrong we are. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for joining, Dill.
Thanks. Cheers.